Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know Mother's Day is right around the corner, right?
Right.
And we thought, why not do a deep dive into something super special for all those amazing moms out there?
Oh, I love this ideal.
Yeah. So we found this article. It's from a website called Le Stallion.
Stallion.
Yeah, it's a website where they sell these like really beautiful journals.
Okay.
And they put out an article called 50 Mother's Day Journal Prompts. So we're going to go through and like explore those prompts. I think this could be really cool for anyone looking for a thoughtful way to celebrate their mom or even just like reflect on that special bond. And I'm really excited to jump into this. So without further ado, let's get started with the first set of prompts. They all focus on childhood memories with mom.
Oh, that's sweet.
Right. Like, remember those like core memories that really kind of shaped us? Okay, so there's this prompt that asks you to describe your absolute favorite childhood memory with your mom. Like, what's the first thing that pops into your head when you think about that?
Oh, I already have one.
Right. Yeah, I know. Like, instantly.
I know exactly what I'm going to say.
And you know what's so cool about this prompt is that it wants you to go beyond, like, just describing what happened. It asks for sensory details.
Oh, I love that.
Like, what did you see? What did you hear? Smell? Even taste?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
was there a certain dish she used to make?
Yeah. Like, it just brings back so many memories.
Right. It's like you can practically relive those moments just by like really tapping into those sensory detail.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't forget about the emotions. How did you feel in that moment? Like, were you excited? Were you full of joy or maybe even like a little bit mischievous?
It's so true. Like, those emotions really make those memories come alive.
Yeah. And it really paints a picture of like that special relationship you had with your mom back then. And you know, it's not just about the happy memories, though. There's this other prompt that I think is really powerful. It asks about a time when your mom's advice actually helped you through something difficult, like a situation where you didn't know what to do, and her words really guided you.
Moms always give the best advice. They do. It's amazing how much their words can impact us, even in those challenging moments. And it really speaks to their wisdom and experience. And, you know, this prompt also wants you to think about, like, how her advice actually impacted your decisions back then. Like, what did you do differently because of what she said?
It's like tracing back the influence she had on our lives.
It really is. And it makes you appreciate all the little ways that moms have shaped who we are today. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit and talk about gratitude. I think as we get older, we start to really appreciate our moms even more.
Absolutely. You start to understand everything they did for you.
Right, like all the sacrifices they made and the things they did for us that we maybe didn't even realize at the time. So these next few prompts are all about tapping into that feeling of gratitude.
And intrigued.
Okay, so one of them suggests actually writing a thank you letter to your mom, like just pouring your heart out on paper and telling her all the things you're grateful for.
I love that. Sometimes it's easier to write it down than to say it out loud.
Oh, totally. It gives you a chance to really like gather your thoughts and express those feelings in a really heartfelt way. Okay, and then there's this other prompt that I think is super interesting. It asks you to think about 3 things your mom did for you that you didn't appreciate as a child, but now as an adult, you're like, oh my gosh, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, like making you eat your vegetables.
Exactly. Or like making you go to bed early or like anything that seemed annoying back then, but now you're like, wow, she was really looking out for me,
Moms know best.
right? It's amazing how our perspective changes as we get older.
It really is.
And, you know, it makes you wonder, like, what are we taking for granted now that we'll appreciate later? It's like a good reminder to be more present and to cherish those little things.
I love that perspective.
Okay, now let's move on to some prompts that are all about the valuable lessons we learn from our moms.
Lessons learned.
Because, you know, it's not just about remembering what they taught us, but also understanding how they taught us. Like often by just being themselves.
Like leading by example.
Exactly. So one of the prompts asks you to think about a time when your mom taught you something important just by living her life. Like maybe it was her approach to challenges or her strong work ethic or even just the way she treated other people.
It's like we were constantly learning from them even when we didn't realize it.
That's true. They were always teaching us something, whether we knew it or not.
Yeah. And you know, those lessons often stick with us much longer than like something they explicitly told us to do.
It's like absorbing their wisdom just by being around them.
Absolutely. And it's not always about those like positive examples either.
That's true.
There's a prompt that asks you to think about a time when you made a mistake as a child and how your mom handled the situation. You know, sometimes those are the moments where we learn the most valuable lessons.
Oh, for sure. Like, it's not just about getting in trouble, but about understanding why what you did was wrong and how to do better next time. And it's also about seeing how our moms handled those tough moments with grace and compassion.
Right, like they were teaching us how to navigate those difficult situations in a healthy way.
It really shows that they're human, too. They make mistakes, but they also show us how to learn and grow from those experiences. And sometimes, their advice doesn't make sense right away. There's this great prompt that asks you to reflect on a time when your mom gave you advice that didn't click until much later.
Oh my gosh, all the time.
Right, like maybe years down the road, you suddenly realize, oh, she was so right about that.
The classic mom was right moment.
It's like a delayed reaction, but it makes you appreciate their wisdom and foresight even more. And it also reminds us that learning from our parents is a lifelong journey. We may not always understand their perspective right away, but as we gain more life experience, those words can take on new meaning.
That is so true.
And it makes you realize, like, wow, they really do know a thing or two.
They really do.
Okay, so now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about legacy. Like, what is it that our moms passed down to us? Is it certain traits, values, stories? It's fascinating to think about the things we inherit from them, both consciously and unconsciously.
Like what makes us who we are.
Right. And this next prompt is all about that. It asks you to think about something your mom has done that you hope to emulate in your own life. Maybe it's her kindness, her strength, her passion for something. It's about recognizing those qualities in her that inspire you.
It's like a blueprint for living a meaningful life.
It really is. And then there's this other prompt that gets really personal. It asks you to think about something you appreciate about your mom that you've never told her, like a secret admiration that you've held on to for years.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. It's about acknowledging those special things about her that maybe we don't always say out loud.
Sometimes those are the most meaningful things.
I agree. Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of ground here with these memory and gratitude prompts. And now I want to dive into something that I think is really special, and that's celebrating that unique bond we have with our moms. Like, what makes that relationship so special, and how do we honor it?
Okay, all right.
Wait, let's do it.
Let's get into it. Okay, so let's dive into those prompts that celebrate that bond between a mother and child.
Okay, so one of the prompts that really stood out to me asks about how that relationship with your mom has evolved over the years.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because it changes so much, right?
It really does, yeah. Like from being completely dependent to becoming more like friends.
Exactly. And it's not always easy.
Yeah, right.
Right. But I think this prompt encourages us to look at those changes as like a natural part of growth.
It's about accepting and appreciating how that relationship has changed over time.
I love that. And, speaking of appreciating, there's another prompt that asks you to write about all those amazing qualities that make your mom so unique.
That's a nice one.
Right. Like, what are her quirks, her talents, the things that make her one of a kind?
It's like celebrating everything that makes her her.
I know. It makes me think of like all those little things that I love about my mom, like her infectious laugh or the way she always knows how to make me feel better when I'm down.
It's about recognizing those special things that make her so special.
And, speaking of special things, there's a prompt about traditions that you share with your mom. Like maybe it's baking cookies together every Christmas or having a standing Sunday brunch date.
Traditions, I love that.
Right. Traditions are so powerful. They create this sense of continuity and connection.
They really do. It's like those little rituals that bind you together.
And, sometimes traditions evolve too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you used to bake cookies together, but now you go to a cooking class together or something.
Oh, I love that.
Right. It's about keeping those traditions alive, but also allowing them to adapt as you both change and grow.
It's about staying connected through those shared experiences.
Okay. And of course, we can't forget about the laughter. There's a prompt about a time when your mom made you laugh so hard.
Oh my gosh, moms are the best at making you laugh.
They really are. Like, they just have this way of finding the humor in everyday situations.
Or sometimes they're just intentionally funny.
Oh, yeah.
Like they'll tell a joke or do something silly just to get you to smile.
And those moments are so precious, right? Like, they just lighten up your day and remind you of how much fun you have together.
They really do.
And, it makes me think about all the times my mom has made me laugh until I cried. Like, those are the moments that I really cherish.
Those are the best.
Okay, so now I want to get a little bit deeper here. There's a prompt that asks how your understanding of motherhood has changed as you've gotten older.
Oh, that's a profound one.
Right. Because
Uh-huh.
it's like when you're a kid, you don't really grasp the complexity of motherhood.
Not at all. It's not until you're older that you start to realize all the sacrifices and the hard work that goes into it.
Exactly. And, for some of us, our understanding of motherhood changes even more when we become parents ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It's like you suddenly get it on a whole new
'Cause
level.
you're like, wow, I had no idea how hard this was.
And then you have this newfound appreciation for everything your mom did for you.
That's so true.
And, sometimes we learn a lot about our moms just by observing how they interact with other people. There's this prompt about a time when you saw your mom's kindness really shine through.
Oh, that's sweet.
Right. Like maybe it was a small act of kindness towards a stranger or
Yeah.
a grand gesture of generosity towards someone in need.
It's about seeing their heart and the values that guide their actions.
And those moments really stay with you, don't they? They show you the kind of person you want to be.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I want to talk about legacy again,
Yes.
because there's a whole set of prompts that dive into that idea. Like, what is it that mom passes down? What are the things that we inherit from her?
Like what makes us who we are.
Right. And this prompt asks you to think about something your mom has done that you hope to emulate in your own life. Like maybe it's her strength or her resilience in the face of challenges.
Or her ability to find joy in the simple things.
Exactly. It's about those qualities that you admire in her and that you hope to embody in your own life.
And then there's this other prompt that's super sweet. It asks you to think about something you appreciate about your mom that you've never told her,
Oh, I like that one.
right? Like a secret admiration that you've held onto for years.
It's like acknowledging those special things about her that maybe we don't always say out loud.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the past and the present. Now I want to shift gears and look towards the future.
Future.
Because these next few prompts encourage us to envision the kind of relationship we want to have with our moms moving forward.
I like that.
Yeah. Like, what do we want that relationship to look like in the years to come?
It's about being intentional and proactive in shaping those bonds.
I love that. Okay, so one of the prompts asks, what kind of relationship you hope to have with your mom in the
Oh,
future?
that's a big one.
Right. Like, what does that look like? What kind of interactions and shared experiences do you envision?
It's like painting a picture of your ideal future together.
And once you have that vision in mind, the next prompt challenges you to think about how you're going to make it happen.
It's about taking action and making those dreams a reality.
And it doesn't have to be complicated, right? Like there's this other prompt that asks you to list 3 things you want to do for your mom in the future to show your appreciation.
It could be something as simple as calling her more often or planning a special outing together.
Or just taking the time to really listen to her stories.
Those small gestures can mean so much.
And, speaking of the future, we can't ignore the fact that our parents are getting older. So there's a prompt that encourages us to think about how we envision supporting our moms as they age.
That's an important one.
It is. It's about having those conversations about what they need and what they want and finding ways to provide support while still respecting their independence.
Right. Like it's delicate balance, but it's crucial to have those conversations.
And it's not just about practical matters either, right? It's
Yeah.
about emotional support as well. Being there for them as a confidant, as a cheerleader, as a source of comfort.
Absolutely. It's about letting them know that you're there for them no matter what.
And it makes me think about how my mom has always been there for me. So now it's my turn to be there for her.
It's like a beautiful cycle of love and support.
Okay, so now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about passing on those lessons that our moms taught us,
Passing on the wisdom.
right? Because they've given us so much and now is our turn to share those gifts with others.
It's about keeping their legacy alive.
Exactly. So this prompt asks you to think about how you hope to pass on those lessons to the people in your life.
Like maybe it's through your actions or your words or even just the way you raise your own children.
It's about taking those valuable insights that our moms gave us and spreading them out into the world.
I love that. Okay, so I have one more prompt that I think is really powerful.
Okay, let's hear it.
It asks, what's one thing you wish you could tell your future self about your relationship with your mom?
Oh, wow, that's deep.
Right.
Uh,
Like what wisdom would you share with your future self?
It's like giving yourself a pep talk from the past.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
saying, hey, future self, remember this about your mom. Cherish these moments and make the most of this precious relationship.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Me too.
Wow, we've really gone through a lot, haven't we?
I know. It's amazing how much there is to think about when it comes to our moms.
Right. It's like this whole world of memories and emotions and insights.
And you know what? I bet our listeners are feeling pretty inspired to grab their journals and start writing now.
Oh, for sure. I know I am.
Me too. And as we wrap things up here, I think the big takeaway is that these prompts are really just a starting point.
Yeah, like a jumping off point.
Exactly. It's
I-
not about following some strict formula or anything.
It's about letting your heart guide you.
Yes. Let yourself be surprised by what comes up when you start writing.
It's all about connecting with that special bond you have with your mom.
Absolutely. Recognizing her influence, expressing gratitude, celebrating everything that makes that relationship unique.
So well said. And as we leave our listeners with one final thought, I want to encourage everyone to really embrace this journey of self-discovery and connection.
Yeah, don't be afraid to dig deep, to ask those tough questions, and to explore all those emotions that come up.
Because it's in those vulnerable spaces that we often find the most meaningful insights.
So true. And remember, it's never too late to start writing your own Mother's Day story.
Whether you're a seasoned journaler or just starting out, these prompts can help you create really special tribute to your mom.
So go ahead, grab your journal, find a quiet spot, and let the words flow.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Happy Mother's Day.